Karine Jean-Pierre spars with a reporter over Joe Biden's relationship with the Saudis. We have the hosts of The View saying that inflation is just a Republican talking point, and celebrities are hiring armed bodyguards in the masses over the rising crime in Los Angeles. All that and more here on The Bald Brad Show. Welcome to The Bald Brad Show. It is Wednesday, October 12th, and as always, I couldn't be happier than to kick these mornings off right, doing The Bald Brad Show and hanging out with all of you, my friends and true American patriots, where we come together as a community of conservatives and Republicans, go over the stories of the day, and bring you all the news and information you need to know about. So if you want to join us here at The Bald Brad Show and you haven't done so, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. If you're over at Rumble, hit the plus and give us a comment down below. And if you're listening on any of the podcast airwaves, Apple, Google, Spotify, heck folks, you can find us and listen to us anywhere and everywhere. Leave us a lovely 5-star review. Not only would you be helping a conservative, most importantly, you'll be supporting getting conservative thought and ideas out there to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel. So your help and support would be greatly appreciated. Again, take a moment to hit that like button, give us a comment down below, and double check to make sure that bell notification icon's clicked, because 85% of you are not being notified when we upload or go live, which is every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with Supernatural Saturdays and a sprinkling of politics on Sunday. Be notified by hitting that bell notification icon. With that being said, folks, it's been a while since we've had a press briefing with Karine Jean-Pierre here. I mean, when was the last time we saw Peter Doocy in the room shellacking and deucing it out with Karine Jean-Pierre? It's been quite some time. We don't have Peter Doocy today, Jackie Henrik, or Phil Wegman, but we have another reporter here asking her about the relationship between the Saudis and President Joe Biden. Folks, just watch how she spins this one and manipulate it. Oh boy, is it a doozy. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Thanks, Karine. Just to follow up on some questions from my colleagues about this review in Saudi relations. You said the president is taking it very seriously, but you also said there's no person leading it or a timeline for it to be completed. Is this more of a rhetorical strategy, or is there actually a review with some sort of substantive plan and action? Because today there's been no details about that.
Look, he's already directed, the Department of Energy to deliver another 10 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and he will continue to direct additional release as appropriate. So he's taken actions. I get you, but I want you to know that he is taking this seriously by taking action on day one.
What? Time out, pump the brakes. Did we all hear that correctly? That this guy's been taking action since day one? Oh my God. They're just lying out there in the open now. They don't even care anymore. Remember, from day one of him taking his presidency to Putin invading Ukraine, gas prices increased 40%. But he's taking it seriously. He was doing everything he could, folks, to lower those gas prices for you. Not a single thing. If anything, he actually made it worse. And we talked about that at length here on the Bald Brad Show. He actually made it worse through his implementation and removal of certain policies. So I don't know what she's talking about here. They always started at Putin invading Ukraine. It's called the Putin price hike, according to them. It's all his fault. And it's unbelievable. Now we're going to take 10 million barrels out of the petroleum reserve. It's a reserve. It's there for if we go to war, or if we have like a massive hurricane or a natural disaster that we can help the local communities or states out. But no, we're going to pull it out here. And if you recall, Joe Biden gave 1 million barrels to China, of which his son Hunter Biden supposedly had some investment in. Oopsie, but nobody wants to investigate that. Nor do they want to talk about it. It's so unbelievable how they spin this thing. But I digress. Let's continue.
And so he will continue to take those types of actions and use the tools that he has to make sure that we're dealing with this incredibly important issue. Look, we have said, the president has said from the beginning of his administration that we need to, redefine this relationship that we have with Saudi Arabia. This is something that he has said for some time. And because of their action, they took this action just last week, the OPEC Plus decision that they've made. And I have said this, I've said this plenty of times at this podium already, is that we see that they're aligning their energy policies with Russia. Look, I'm not.
There you go. Now they're the bad guys, right? Now they're aligning it with the Russians. It's amazing how they're trying to attach everything and anything they possibly can to Putin here. Because if you attach yourself and align yourself with Putin, now you're the bad guy. If you recall, I was just told the other week that nobody messes with a Biden, right? Nobody F's with a Biden. We were told that on a hot mic from the man himself, from the horse's mouth. We were told that. And you have the Saudis going, hey, we're going to just do 1 million barrels. And they're like, you know what? Let's make it 2 million barrels per day that we're going to sit there and remove in a nutshell in terms of our manufacturing production. You got to love this whole thing of her attaching it to Russia. Joe Biden's doing everything he can, which he's not, you guys. Is he increasing domestic oil production? Nah, not a single bit. He's going, rather than drilling here in the United States, which we could be self-sufficient in terms of oil, he's willing to go to a dictatorship in Venezuela and get oil from them. Let that sink in for a moment. Rather than doing it here, he would rather go to Venezuela. He would rather go somewhere else. And I would also like to point out, if you recall his trip with the Saudis, when he went there and fist bumped the guy, he never talked to them about oil. The most oil-rich country in the world. He didn't talk about oil. But remember, he cares about this. He's losing sleep over it. He's been doing everything since day one, folks. Do everything he possibly can to make sure you're paying less at the pump. You can't make this up. And by the way, that's not my words. She told us. She literally said the other week, and we commented here on the Bald Brad channel about her saying, yeah, he never talked about oil with them. But we're going to follow up with this. And you got to love, too, to add into the mix here, the whole topic of redefining everything. Well, we're going to redefine a relationship with the Saudis. Why? It seemed pretty good at the beginning. When Trump was with them, everything was going fine. Peace in the Middle East. You know, we're getting production done. Gas prices were low. Everything was fine. You get Joe Biden in office, all of a sudden we got to redefine it. We got to redefine what a recession was. We got to redefine what inflation was. We got to redefine what immigration is. There's no longer illegal immigration. There's no longer illegal immigration. You know, it's just a challenge. It's not a crisis. Now we got to redefine what a relationship with the Saudis. Just redefining everything and anything, folks.
Going to get ahead of this. You will hear from us when we lay out what actions we are going to take. We're going to review them. But again, I'm not going to get ahead. And this is something that we take very seriously.
Does the president have any regrets about his trip to Saudi Arabia and his meeting with MBS and other Saudi leaders?
No, I just laid out an agreement, a historic agreement that was made by Israel and Lebanon. And no, he does not. He does not regret
Saudi
it.
Arabia, that agreement. Israel and Lebanon. I'm just talking about the Saudi portion of that Middle East trip.
What I'm saying is that trip was so important for our national interest and also for the American people. There are a couple of things that came out of that trip. That was one of them. But also the focus abroad, as you know, was for the Middle East region. The president was able to engage, as we all know, with 13 leaders to discuss a range of issues from Iran to Yemen to the 5G. And if you think about Yemen, that is very much a part of Saudi Arabia, is very much a part of that Yemen truce that we have seen. The president set forth an affirmative agenda for more integrated and stable region, including Israel's integration over time into the Arab world. And on the trip, we concluded a historic agreement opening Saudi's airspace to Israeli flights. That is really important. That happened right there when the president was in the region. So the president was the first to visit the region without Americans in combat operations, and it's his aim to keep it that way as well. So there were many deliverables that came out of that meeting with Saudi Arabia, but also being in the Middle East region, how critical and important it is as the president is moving forward with his foreign policy agenda. So.
Sorry, I can't continue. I'm trying so hard not to laugh in the mic for you guys, but it's so unbelievable. Him just being there was great. That's basically what she was saying. Just his presence alone. That's what it was all about. We signed some things. We did some things. And by the way, it was the first time we ever showed up where nobody had guns. Just like, didn't do a damn thing, basically. Literally went there. Taxpayer dollars. Didn't solve a damn thing. Signed a bunch of paperwork, of which, again, I like to point out, pretty much there was already peace in the Middle East under Trump. And she's going to throw this whole thing out there. None of which she's talking about the Saudis, of which the question was asked to her about the relationship with the Saudis in terms of what's going on. Can you actually name a thing that happened with the Saudis that it's actually a good thing? She couldn't. She's talking about Israel, Yemen, and all this other stuff because he didn't do anything with the Saudis. But remember, nobody F's with the Biden folks. Nobody F's with them. Although it seems like anybody and everybody's effing with them. The illegal immigrants, the southern countries, the border states, Russia. I mean, name it. Everybody's screwing with the Bidens. He ain't getting anything right, folks. Moving into our next story of the day. It's truly unbelievable. We have The View here. Somebody left a comment the other day that more people watch The View on Republican shows than The View actually gets on their own show, and you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. Honestly, God, I don't know why you'd watch The View, other than calling out the hypocrisy here and just the asinine things that they say, which is what we predominantly do here on the Bob Brad Show. So The View host, Sunny Hostin's back into it, claiming on Tuesday that inflation was little more than a Republican talking point being used to distract people from the real issues facing Americans like abortion. Just, it makes you want to hit your head against the wall. It's truly mind-blowing that it's just a Republican talking point. Democrats are talking about it. It was 9.1, it's 8.3 now. I mean, you had lost roughly $4,300 since Biden's taken office. You're just, money's flowing out of your pocket left and right. It's truly crazy. Hostin, who just inked a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar deal to stay on The View. That just shows you how good we have it in America. That you can ink a multi-million-dollar deal to stay on The View. Just, it makes me wonder how much Joy Behar gets paid. I mean, she literally said, as a lady was stabbing another lady in the neck, and the cop shot the one with the knife, that rather than shooting the lady dead, that was literally actively putting a knife in the neck of another lady, to shoot her in the buttocks, maybe throw some warning shots in the air. These people are getting paid multi-million dollars to say this stuff. That's how we got it good in America. The fact that you got people like that signing a multi-million dollar deal with this whole thing. So we have this clip on The View. I got to show it to you. I'm sorry to put you through it, but it's important just to go through all the silly things that they mention here. And on one end, it's morning, and it makes you want to hit your head against the wall. But on the other end, it's important because it shows you where Democrats are at in their thinking. Let's go ahead and roll it.
I don't understand about the border, though. It's been a problem for decades and decades, across administrations, for as long as I've been alive, at least. If they are doing something, what I wish I could hear right now is just, hey, this is really complicated, but here are a few things we've done.
What's complicated about this? It was like the whole thing of when Karine Jean-Pierre the other week said that crime was complicated. No, it's not. You broke the law. It's that easy. In the same way, you walked over here illegally. It's not complicated at all. Build more border security. Build a wall. Get stuff out there. Maybe have better messaging. There's a lot of things that aren't complicated whatsoever. Look, the same people right here on The View that said Trump was an idiot. The guy isn't a good businessman. He's a dum-dum. He's a knucklehead. Whatever. He didn't have the same immigration numbers that Joe Biden has. So if he was an idiot, if Donald Trump, according to them, is an idiot, then how is it he had, in probably one of his worst times, 17,000 illegal immigrants in the month of August, compared to Joe Biden, who has 200,000 in 1 month? Same time period. Explain that one to me. But they can't. They can't because it's complicated to them. It's not complicated whatsoever. And I love how she's like, well, every administration deals with it. No administration in U.S. history since the founding of the Republic has seen numbers like this. So it's not like it's just a complicated issue. It's not like every administration deals with these types of numbers. No. It's just Joe Biden. It's just Joe Biden. And by the way, Democrats used to be against illegal immigration. Go listen to what Bill Clinton used to say back in the day. But all of a sudden they shift, and now we got this whole problem. Let's continue.
Am I missing something? Because it feels like the administrations that get in there, they all dodge. They get in there saying they want to work on immigration, then no one talks about it. And we're all like, but we all agree it's a problem. What am I missing there?
Well, you're missing a lot here, dear, because Donald Trump did nothing but talk about it. I mean, the huge, beautiful wall with the big doors that will swing open for you to come in legally. We would love to have you, but if you're coming illegally, we don't want you. And that's 13 gang members are coming across the border. I mean, that's all he has done. That's why we voted for him, lady. Wake up here. Wake up.
Well, I think we've always talked about it. I mean, I think we certainly talked about it during the Trump administration when he was separating families and having children sleep on floors. And I think we're talking about it again.
Hold on. I know I keep positive, folks. There's so much content here. She's going to cherry pick and talk about Trump separating families when it happened under the Obama administration. Why don't you talk about that, Sonny? Why are you cherry picking here and just talking about Trump, who his job is to execute the law, whether he likes it or not? That's his job. Welcome to the executive branch, to execute the laws that are on the books, of which your dude put into place, Mr. Barack Obama. But let's cherry pick and not talk about that, having people sleep on the floors. There's literally images under the Biden administration of packing 400 people into a pod that only fits 150, 200. They're doubling capacity, sleeping on the floor. Why are you not bringing that up, Sunny? Oh, no, because it goes against your narrative. It goes against throwing your own party under the bus. They do the same thing with history as well. Oh, it was the Southern people that were the racists. It's the Southern peoples. No. It was the Democratic South. It was the Democrat Party that were the racists. Oh, well, the Ku Klux Klan. No. It was the Democrat Party that was the Ku Klux Klan. Let's be specific here. But they cherry pick. They redefine history in the same way that they redefine what a recession was, in the same way they redefine the relationship with Saudi Arabia. Common theme here, folks. Let's continue.
During when you have people like Governor DeSantis sending,
but who's trying to solve it?
We talk about that's not solve. Solve is not sending families.
But we talk about what is going wrong, and that's an easy target. I could tell you.
Why is she calling out DeSantis for sending families? Joe Biden, for months, going on 2 years now, has literally flown illegal immigrants under the dark of the night to different areas of the United States where nobody knows about. At least DeSantis was like, hey, I'm going to fly to Martha's Vineyard and we're going to take camera crews with us. And by the way, the sanctuary cities, Joe Biden is literally just flying them anywhere and everywhere under the dark of the night. And they will literally land on the tarmac where there's no cameras, there's no lights. We actually have body cam footage that we covered here in the Bald Brad Show of a guy that was security for the airport going, who the hell are you? This is an undocumented plane, quite literally. They didn't have it on the books. And they parked in where there was no lighting. And the guy literally said, yeah, we're parked here because we don't want cameras. We don't want anybody to see us. I mean, you can't be any more clear than what the guy said on tape. It's just so baffling that people actually watch this and absorb it, just suck it all in. Oh, this is great. It's so great.
What's going wrong in every administration?
But the other thing,
and what
Sarah,
they're not doing
that they're
right.
saying is that you have people like Secretary Gardonas, you have people like Homeland Security talking about all the drugs that are being stopped at the border. You have Kamala Harris going not only just to the border, but also going to the countries where we're having most of the immigrants come. So they could be stronger in their messaging, but it's not that they're not doing anything. But I reject
they aren't doing anything. You going to other people's countries and having a conversation with the presidents and handing out cookies of what she did. We covered that like a year and a half ago. She handed out cookies with her face on it. And saying, oh, well, they're coming here because of climate change. That was what she said, because they're having tough problems in their area. There's so many other countries, by the way, in South America that you can go to. And I understand why you'd want to flee to America to have a better life. I totally get that. But there's a process and way of doing it. That's not asylum seeking to just flee from a country of which there's certain climate problems with. Okay? So she's going to say that they could be better messaging, which is true. But at the same time, how about locking up the border a little bit, more border security, building the wall of which Americans want? But she's going to sit there and show for this kind of propaganda, this misinformation. But I was told we can't do misinformation. I was told we shouldn't do disinformation. But this is going to be all over YouTube. It's going to be everywhere and just totally get away with it.
Framing that the issue here really is about immigration and that the issue here is about inflation, because that's a Republican framing. Really, the issue here is that the Republicans misjudged the abortion debate. They misjudged it.
It's unbelievable. There you have it. Republicans talking about inflation is just a Republican talking point. You have to be so disconnected, you guys, from reality. You have to be so disconnected from actually what everybody's talking about. It's not just Republicans. I mean, literally, Joe Manchin himself talked about it. It was so much a Democratic talking point that literally they introduced the Inflation Reduction Act, lady. And by the way, it doesn't reduce inflation. I mean, all you could do is laugh, you guys. It is so mind-blowing that this stuff is out there. Multi-million-dollar contract for that. Boy, oh boy, do y'all feel better? Do you feel like you're getting what you need out of the View? And like I said, people just sit there and absorb it. Just, oh, it's so good. I feel bad laughing, but that's all you can do. It's comedy. It's literally comedy. So they went from the illegal immigration of like, oh, it's a complicated issue, and I feel like every president talks about it, but then they don't. They kind of just brush it under the rug. And then saying how inflation is just a Republican talking point and they really missed it on abortion. No, we didn't. We didn't miss it at all. That's the whole thing. Again, I know we're beating a dead horse with this. The abortion case was actually overturned because it was wrong with what the Supreme Court actually did in the first place. You don't even have to be pro-life. Again, this is coming from somebody that used to be pro-choice. I'm pro-life now. But you don't have to be either to know what the Supreme Court did on Roe v. Wade was actually wrong. Hell, going back to Griswold v. Connecticut, what they did was wrong. But with Roe v. Wade, I mean, talk about an overreach of the judiciary in the Supreme Court case of determining which trimesters you can have an abortion. I mean, it was an overreach. It was wrong with what the Supreme Court did. On grounds alone, according to the own clerks of the time, it was a wrong decision. Pro-choice advocates know that it's a wrong decision. Pro-abortionists know that it's a wrong decision, but it was a right, supposedly, folks, for decades. It was just a right that was granted out of whole cloth, and nobody can find it in the Constitution, but your right to abortion's there. If you actually pull out the Constitution, you will find it. You won't find it. And actually, if you read Griswold v. Connecticut and roll that into Roe v. Wade, you will actually see in the writings that it's talked about that you won't find it, but it's there supposedly, according to all these leftists. Speaking of other crazy things and not dealing with the reality, there's an explosion here of superstars hiring at-home bodyguards amid the massive crime surge and rise that's happening in Los Angeles. This one is juicy, folks. This one's juicy. Are you sitting down? Oh my goodness. No more than ever, celebrities are hiring at-home bodyguards and personal protection amid a massive crime rise in places like Los Angeles due to laws that security experts say have emboldened the criminals. We've talked about the rise in crime in Los Angeles, New York. I mean, pretty much any Democratic-run area. Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles. Citywide robberies with firearms in LA are up 57% in 2022. But remember, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, wants to run for president of the United States. Oh, goody. That's from 2020 itself. The discrepancy is 57% in 2022 compared to 2020. That comes from the Los Angeles Police Department. Homicides are up 29% over the first 6 months of the year compared to that period in 2020. New York City and LA-based Global Threat Solutions CEO Kenneth Bombas talked to the Daily Wire about the rise in crime and said it was definitely affected their business. Quote, yes, we have seen a significant increase in a close protection services for celebrities, business executives, and people with a high net worth. These same people that vote for all these policies, like Prop 47, which we'll get into, like having gun-free zones, are hiring armed protection to protect themselves. All these celebrities that are against the Second Amendment, against guns, ooh, they're icky, they're scary, I don't like that, are hiring armed security guards. Let that sink in. These same people that are against building a wall on the southern border have giant walls around their house with armed security guards. We've talked about it so many times on the show. It is so amazing that they're like blind to certain things that happen in their own personal life. They don't see the connection between having a gun to protect yourself and allowing other people to have guns to protect themselves, but they're going to hire other people to protect them with guns. And they don't see that you're supposed to build a wall, because walls work, to stop people from coming and invading into a place of which isn't theirs, i.e. the wall that's around their house to stop people from invading their house of which they're not supposed to be. Welcome to the southern border. But they honest to God, there's blinders on them. They don't know what the hell's going on. He said the reason for this is largely a result of the increase in violent crimes in Los Angeles, specifically crimes that target people of wealth. President and CEO of the LA-based World Protection Group, Kent Moyer, told the Daily Wire, it's not just a bump in business, but an explosion as more celebrities seek protection amid skyrocketing crime rates. It's an explosion for business, he said. Home invasion, robberies being up, and said people are afraid. Moyer said California laws such as Prop 47, which we've covered at length here, and no cash bail have emboldened the criminals. The CEO also explained that things likely defund the police have forced members of law enforcement into early retirement, meaning people are struggling getting protection and the help that they need by calling 911 to receive those first responders, because you got a lot of people that sat there and retired, as you probably would have, because you got a lot of these lefties that don't like the police, defund the police. So while all the low-income areas, black, white, Asian, no matter where you live, are getting screwed because they can't get the protection they need, these people that are voting in Prop 47, these celebrities, are just hiring it. So who gets screwed here? Not the wealthy and the elites. They're above here, folks. They're all up here. It's all of us that are down at the bottom that have to protect ourselves. But they don't want you to have a gun to protect yourself. So you're screwed. You're not gonna get the police that you need, because they don't want to police in inner cities and the high crime areas. Because if you shoot a guy that's shooting you in the face, You get defund the police, you get all this backlash, you go to jail for the rest of your life. But as the celebrities are all protecting themselves, they're okay. Yeah, screw everybody else as long as we're taken care of. I mean, they are so disconnected from the freaking rest of America. It's mind-blowing. Quote, the other thing you see in private security officers are being attacked. The criminals are emboldened to attack police or security. They just feel there are no consequences. That's because there's no cash bail. I mean, we did that on the show. We did the list of like the 12 offenses that you can do, which is great. I mean, you could literally rob a place and there's no cash bail. You're just let loose. The amount of crimes that you can commit and just go out there in the streets, have fun, is just, it's head spinning. Residential estate security has been an uptick because everybody wants their own private security now so they can sleep well at night. I don't know if you recall in 2015, the left literally said sleep was racist. I don't know if you recall that. That was by The Atlantic, I want to say. I'm going back 7 years, but The Atlantic published a story how sleep was racist. We did a story here on the Bald Brad Show like a year ago, how exercise was supposedly racist. I mean, everything and anything is racist now. Instead of being reactive, they're becoming more proactive. Baum has explained that celebrities and people with wealth are taking steps to protect themselves. He said this, celebrities have asked for a broad spectrum of security services, including residential security, close protection security, meaning bodyguards, armed security drivers, and travel security details. Can we just get the whole package, sir? Because we're scared because LA's gone insane because of the policies that we want. Close protection while in public for events, shopping, and dining are most commonly requested. Remember when Waters told everybody to go attack Trump supporters, and if you see them in restaurants and every place, you need to get up right up in there in front of their faces and do all these things? Well, you know, screw all of us, but, you know, make sure the celebrities have armed security guards while they get to have a nice meal. Moyer said one person can't protect one celebrity in the current conditions because the risk is too high. So they're having to hire more bodyguards. The clients are now going 2 agents minimum, but once a graveyard shift, now we are 24 hours. 24 hours. To give you an idea of what they're paying here, anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500 a day on average. They're spending up to $2 million per year for protection, but everything's fine. Everything's okay. LA's going great. The people in LA want to sit there run for cabinet places. They want to be ambassadors under the Biden administration. Or hell, like we have Gavin Newsom wants to run for freaking the president of the United States in 2024. The guy has the highest crime rates in the country, the highest gas prices in the country, the highest homeless population in the country. I mean, it's list after list, the worst roads in the country. I mean, you could almost just throw a dart and you'd probably find the worst thing in the union here in California. And that guy wants to run for president of the United States. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is for people just doing a terrible job running a state or a locality and then thinking, you know what, I'm doing a good job. Things are great. I'm going to go run for president. Look at Kamala Harris, Senator of California. Look where she's at. She ran for president. Now she's vice president. You get rewarded in the Democrat Party for doing a terrible job. It is only the Republican Party that you get rewarded for doing a great job. Prime example, Ron DeSantis. Who do we all want in? Trump or Ron DeSantis? You don't get elected president if you do a crap job of running a state or locality, but it seems like the Democrat Party, hell, you can run something or be a non-sentient human being like Joe Biden and you're just levitated right up to the top and you get voted in. It's mind-blowing how freaking 80 million people voted for Joe Biden. I don't believe it one bit. Folks, as always, make sure you show some love by hitting that like and subscribe button. I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.